Check. Oh, there we go. Check. Check. Okay, I think it's on. Okay. All right. Sorry for the mess up. All right, this is the Sashiko Live Streaming where I talk about Sashiko while doing the Sashiko stitching. This is not a lecture, webinar, or tutorials. If you'd like to have the technical questions answered, this channel is a good place to look for the answers. Instead of teaching those specific techniques, I like to make this 1 hour as a place for us to stitch together. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding this Sashiko culture or Japanese culture, which I do not have to stop stitching. As long as I don't have to stop stitching, I am happy to share some stories. Okay. There are two announcements. One is about the workshop in 2025. My schedule for 2025 has been almost fixed. I do not think I will add any more workshop. I would need time for myself to stitch as well. So yeah, one in March in Florida, and then one in July, Wisconsin, and there's one pending, which is not, the information is not up yet, but I will probably go to the northeast, above Boston, I guess, around that area. I will update the information as soon as I can introduce that. But those are the 3 workshop I plan, and then I don't think I will add more. So if you'd like to take in-person workshop, please check the summary. It's on the description area. And also, I have fixed the date for Sashiko Japan retreat in 2025, which is going to be November 17th to 27th. And all the details are listed on the website. So if you are interested in that, please take a look at that. Okay, I think that's about it. Okay, I will change the camera and then start stitching. Yep. Hello. Thank you so much for coming. Oh, hello, Lee-san. Hello, Shimone. Thank you. Once again, my microphone was not working properly this morning. Not a morning, this right now. So please let me know if it's not. Well, I mean, I don't know how you can let me know, but if I stop talking for, like, let's say 5 minutes or even a few minutes, that means that I'm not probably. The camera is off. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming. Another Thursday night. Oh, actually, I'm from Australia. For Australia, it's another morning, I guess. Welcome. It's the same stitching wise. Do. It's for the US, I guess, especially the East Coast, it will be extremely cold next week, so we gotta be kind of careful. It's the Celsius, but it's gonna be minus 20 something next week. 20 something. 20 something. That is I don't know how much is that in Fahrenheit, but it is gonna be crazy cold. It's 1 p.m. there. Wow. Yeah, it's actually 11 o'clock in Japan, so it's also kind of... It's not a morning. Hello, welcome to the live streaming. The cold is good for Sashiko. It's much better than, come on, being hot. Come on, it doesn't come off. Just a second. This happens sometimes. Come on. Okay. This is not the best start, but sometimes it happens. That my thread today is going to... Wow, that's so awesome. Send me the photo of the thread you dye. Actually, you did. Did you? I think you did. I gotta introduce that on the Instagram. A lot of things happened in last November to December. I am not, as much as I was there, a lot of things was kind of pending. So I really apologize for those who haven't been pretty attentive for those things. A lot of things are kind of behind. And yes, I remember you sending me the photo, so I will introduce that. Well, I caught that, so. It has been pretty busy. Not a busy, just, restless, if that's the word for that. It's, it's not really the best description when you do Sashiko. Many people do Sashiko right now for the meditative purpose. So if I say restless, some people might say like, well, you should calm down first before you stitch, which is kind of ridiculous. But it has been pretty restless few months. So I gotta kind of calm down for that. A little bit slow down, yet a series of workshop is coming. So it's little, and then tax is coming, It's gonna be a bit of hassle around this time all the time. I will ice dye it. Ice dye. I'm not really a good dye person. Although I sell, natural dye Sashiko thread, I do not dye thread for the merchandise. I sometimes, very, very occasionally try to dye it, but I'm not really good at it. So pretty much everything we dye is either my mother Keiko or the artisans Keiko Trust. So I don't really dye thread or fabric. It's like a very much science. To me, dyeing is more like baking, and Sashiko is more like cooking. So it's cooking versus baking, and I think I'm pretty good at cooking, but I am pretty bad at baking. I am learning. I'm trying my best to enjoy the baking with my daughter, but especially like a sweets, I'm very not good at it because my cooking doesn't have a recipe. I never use the measuring cup or spoon for that matter. It's always about this much, that much. And Sashiko can be like that. I don't really measure anything when we stitch. So for me, Sashiko is like that cooking, and then dyeing is very much like baking, which requires a lot of precision, accuracy is very, very important in dyeing. And I'm not that kind of person. I cannot trust myself for that. So Tsuchiko-san is like that too. Mm, あれ、日本語でなんで、there's a word for that in Japanese. 目安違う。は there's a Japanese word for that. Just about. 適当 no. あれ出てこない。Come on. It's not coming. あれ加減違うな。Well, I really don't have a recipe for my cooking. 目分量 There we go. Thank you so much. 目分量 Thank you. So sometimes my wife kind of give up cooking the way I cook. So she let me do that. But her friends or some, friends we have ask me to teach them how to cook it. And, I'm not really mean for that. I don't want to say, it's just my recipe, so I'm not going to give it to you. I just don't have the recipe. And then I, tell them, you can watch me doing it, and then you can see how much of the soy sauce I put, or, But after all, it's kind of impossible to measure it because I sometimes say it's 2 seconds of soy sauce. It doesn't make sense, right? 2 seconds of soy sauce doesn't make sense, but 2 seconds means that if you pour it 2 seconds, that's the 2 seconds of soy sauce. So it's not exactly about the amount, it's more like feeling about, just about. And it's horrible for baking, because if you mess up with the actual amount, if you skip the measuring, it won't rise or it won't form. So I'm really not good at baking. So does dyeing. Dyeing is like an art it's really a science. And I really respect those who can do that. Most of my mom's cooking is without the recipes. Yep. Well, I did not really learn from my parents, but my grandma was the kind of chef for that. Me. Yeah, that's how that's how the culture was passed down. Sashiko is one of those. I am teaching Sashiko as like a package, so that one can get the message or important things within the limited time frames, like 6 hours or 3 days. I don't want them to spend 3 years or 3 decades to learn something I can teach in 6 hours. But sometimes I never had those teaching experience. It's pretty much my original, in terms of teaching, it's my original way to do it. The contents I'm teaching is not my original, but the way, how to teach is my original way to do that. And Sashiko used to be a practice like cooking, learning from your own mother, own grandmother. So each family had their own taste. Each family probably had their own practice. Therefore, I keep saying it's kind of nonsense to define what is right and wrong in this. Everything is right. even even if it tastes bad, it's okay. It's for some people, for one specific person, that taste might be the best taste. Yeah, so that's how I learned cooking. I was really, how can I put it this way? Including my mother, many people were working in my family household. Therefore, I had to cook since childhood. That's why I think I still can do that, but it's one skill. I want my daughter to have that skill if that's possible. But I don't teach her well because I don't have any recipe, and it's not a. I'm not saying one is good and another is bad. It's just difference. But Sashiko is more like cooking, and dyeing is more like baking. That's kind of like another analogy to describe what Sashiko is. So today's topic is, well, it's really not big topic to talk about. But I started arranging, or not even arranging, talking to the Japanese Sashiko artisans who I would like to introduce to the world. And they are part of the Japan Sashiko retreat I offer. And they usually don't teach. I ask them to teach specifically. So I hear a lot of kind of feedback from them as well. Because they don't teach as their job or daily routine, they have their own approach to Sashiko and its teaching. And the more I talk about the more I talk to them, the more I realize that what I offer, even including the workshop, it can be very much one-time offer, and I gotta remember that that's how I started. I wasn't planning to keep offering the workshop. In 2017, 2018, I was invited to the New York to teach Sashiko, and it was great that guest or host invited me several times, but it wasn't really designed to keep it going. And every time I offered that workshop, I kept saying like, well, this might be the last time I teach. And it became actually the last time to teach for quite a while because I didn't have any venue to teach at. Now, thanks to many organizations and many studios, many guild, I have a lot of opportunities to teach. Although I cap it like 6 times a year, that's my maximum to teach. If I teach more than that, I will lose my balance. So I plan as if tomorrow is gonna come for sure. And I will do my best to have it tomorrow. That's my responsibility to offer the workshop I promise. At the same time, I would like to remind myself that what I offer is, it can be very much one time. Again, it is my intention to keep offering it. I would love to keep offering it, but it's not an organization. It's not really it's not systemized. Systemized? It's not it's not in the system yet. I don't know if it's gonna be in the system, but if I stop, if I become unable to teach, that would be the end of my teaching because I don't have any other apprentice for that matter. My daughter is not ready for that. Although she is now a little bit stitching. The Japan Sashiko retreat with her was a little bit of trigger. That was really good. So she might be one of those. And there are a lot of teachers. Actually, right now there are several teachers teaching Sashiko in the style that I would teach. I probably can introduce them too, but they are different. I don't really have the person who I would pass down everything. And because I thought like that, because I thought that tomorrow may not come, which is my basic philosophy, I started doing the Sashiko live streaming in Japanese first. Because I don't know when this story ends, I wanted to leave something behind so that they can watch it later on as kind of archive to look for the voice from actual Sashiko artisans who lived in Japan, and sharing not as like a translation or interpretation. It's like a voice from the I'm not the curator, I'm not the organizer, I'm one of the stitcher, so I think that's a important voice to leave. I'm not planning to stop teaching or offering. It's just it cannot be promised. That's probably what I want to say. It cannot be promised. I would like to do, and if it's only about me, I think I can keep offering that as much as I can, as much my health or my condition. As long as my condition allows, I'll do my best. But when I involve others, some of them are very old, some of them are sometimes not willing to teach. So the previous Sashiko tour, not a tour, Sashiko retreat was kind of a miracle by itself. And I'm trying to make that miracle happen again as if I can do that. And I really like to do that, but it is one-time thing to do. I really like listening to your reflections, how philosophical and truthful you are to yourself. This is my favorite lives, listening while watching the handmade work happening. I like that. I appreciate that. That's really good to hear. It's good that I can keep offering it. Welcome, gosh, I love this. Yes, thank you. So Sashiko was. There are quite many reasons that we do not have many documents about Sashiko. Of course, you can Google, and then Wikipedia can give you a lot of answers, but they're not really true. It's not wrong, but it's not really explaining enough. I always talk about pizza, but if the Wikipedia only describe about the New York pizza, then how about the pizza in Chicago? That's kind of erased from the history. The Wikipedia's information on Wikipedia or internet is like that. It's not necessarily wrong, but it's sometimes missing a lot of information. Especially Sashiko, it's missing a lot. And the reason it's missing is that because there are no documents left. As long as I know, there are no documents written by those who actually practiced it. No, I don't. Well, if you know anybody happen to do that, that's great. all the documents we can find is written by those who collected them or who researched it. And there's one really good book from academic purpose, but I find the voice from actual stitcher artisans, whoever who makes things, whoever who use hand, are quite important. And of course, the researchers, curators, collectors, they are very, very important part of the culture, and without them, we won't have anything behind. At the same time, it's kind of the core of the practice exists in doing it, not talking about it. So it is my intention to be, I don't want to be like your grandmother, because I don't want to be called grandma. But the idea is the same. You visit your uncle or grandma's house while her cooking something like, mac and cheese or, your favorite dish. You may listen to her stories, how she learned how to make mac and cheese. But your grandmother probably will not write down how to cook mac and cheese as if it's something very special. For that grandmother, the mac and cheese is like ordinary. When it's ordinary, we don't really write it down. We don't write down how to use the microwave right now. What you put in the inside of that. Don't put any, egg or anything alive. I mean, that's a horrible way to say that, but that's some common sense we have. But if a few hundred years later, if they don't know how to use the microwave, those documents may need to be left behind. So all I'm trying to do is to pass down those stories. And there's so many Japanese that I would like to introduce who unfortunately don't have the voice, including those who do not want to speak up. So it's my job to convince them. It will be my job. It will literally my job to convince them to be on the. They don't have to be on the surface of the internet. But somehow Sashiko Uncle sounds like a good brand name, and that's then it kind of. There's a reason I keep saying the grandma instead of uncle, and I don't know if you noticed that, but when I use pronoun, I often use female pronouns, she or her. And that's kind of like a brainwashing that I had in my childhood. It is true that Sashiko was for the women, and I kind of respect that it was for the women, and I don't know if I, as the, man, should be in this field. It's a little bit, I don't want to, distinguish that based on gender. But it was for the women, and there's a lot of women's pride in the stitching. And that's another reason that I keep saying that I will not be the best Sashiko artisan in terms of skill or doing it. I am more like a storyteller. I'm more like the person who connect the dots, not to be the one. And I don't plan to, and I don't think I can. That's the kind of like a brainwashing moment in my childhood. But it is quite true that it was hers, or theirs, but hers. And I probably unconsciously respect that. But because of that, Sashiko Uncle sounds a little bit strange. It's probably a very good brand name. It's, you know, it resonates a lot of things. I'm not saying men cannot stitch Sashiko. Of course, anybody can do that at this moment, But I want them to acknowledge that how it was. And because of that, because of my childhood and history, where I listened to those stories a lot, it's not my stage to dance. I can help to make the stage, but it's not my stage. And I would like to keep it that way. So I'm not gonna, well, I don't think I'm gonna be like artist. Well, I don't think so. I don't think I would put my name and then have the exhibition. I would invite or involve others, and then I can be like a connectors, but that's a little bit of, and it's only my problem. It's not anybody's problem. If doesn't matter who stitch, it does not, the gender doesn't matter. Anybody can stitch. It's just my issue as my issue from my childhood. I think let's keep it that way. So I don't think I can use the Sashiko Ankle as the brand name. Although I agree, that's a very catchy name. I think I'm gonna go with Sashiko Stories until the end. I kind of like it. It used to be sashi.co. That's my mother's company or solo proprietor name. But because of the dot, at some point, the account was claimed as something. Somebody claimed that it wasn't theirs or something like that, so I had to change the name. And that's the time I changed it to Sashiko Story, because back then I knew already that importance of storytelling. And it's not even storytelling, it's just talking about it. And it's not information, it is the information, but it's not optimized. So it takes some time to get what I am talking about. Even I don't know what I'm talking about sometimes. So it's not really optimized, but at the same time, if you're stitching, if you're doing something in this time, your ears are probably free, so you can just listen to this, and that's the thing I would like to do. Yeah, it's really one of the kind, and I'm so glad that I could do it before it was too late. At the same time, we don't have that much time left too. We are at the very much edge of the generations where the opportunities are about to be gone. For example, I am like 40, I'm 41 right now, but we are the last generations to be able to learn from somebody who actually saw that happening. In that, like, what I meant was that I cannot learn Sashiko. My Sashiko is not based on the actual situation. I did not people stitching for survival. It was like 1980s, 1990s. In Japan, I don't think anybody was stitching for the survival because they could not replace the fabric. Of course, people had limited resources. Some people had limited resources, but back then already we had some social welfare. So it wasn't like that they could not replace the fabric no matter what. But those who were a child back then, like my grandmother's generation, they observed the original scenery when they were a kid. And that is the memory they have. And that's the first resource of this practice. And after this generation, like let's say my grandmother's generation is gone, we will lose the actual voice. It's gonna be somebody's interpretation, somebody's stories of somebody. Like for example, my story is combination of my experience as well as somebody's story. I did not experience stitching in the survival. I have never done that. No. Once I sometimes thought I should be doing that. I should force myself to go into that kind of situation, but at the same time, it's not realistic to do that in this world. And it doesn't make sense to do that too. So it is kind of like, and it does not really limit to the Japanese culture, I guess. In any culture, in last 5 generations, a lot of things have changed, and that kind of wisdom is about to be lost. Some of the wisdom, some of the practice may have name, like Sashiko, and many others don't. And I'm really lucky, or probably not lucky, that I had to listen to those stories when I was a child. Like, it was more like a forced. I was forced to be part of it. And my daughter is not gonna be part of it because I'm not gonna force it. And I don't think many people were forced to be part of that. And as the result, and it's not nobody's fault. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming anybody. It's our collective choice to not to take it, because those memory can be associated with negative images like poverty, shame. They worked so hard to not to repeat it. So it is good for them that they don't pass it down. And Sashiko was like that. Therefore, there's not that much information left. But there was a big revival of Sashiko, and then, I'm part of that. I was part of that. If you have a chance to listen to somebody elder, that's a very, very, very important. I don't want to say job. It's not a job, but it's a very important work to do. And it's kind of difficult to leave it behind, because it cannot be just you. Those stories, in order to pass it down, in order to preserve it, those stories has to be somewhat talked to somebody else, and that's not really easy. At the same time, it is not. I don't want to say it's a waste of time to listen to those stories, because it's not. It's my job, not a job. It's my dream to spend a good month in Japan and visiting all people who I would like to meet and say hello, and then kind of collect all the information, not information, all the stories about Sashiko, so that we can leave it. So pretty much I'm saying like the Sashiko introduced in English right now is the filtration, simplification of one part of Sashiko. So it's not really wrong, but they're not explaining the whole culture itself. And it's kind of impossible to explain the whole. Therefore, when we introduce Sashiko, we have to kind of say that this is one part of it. It's not the whole picture. It's impossible to explain the whole. Oy vey. I don't know. For some reason, I have a stomachache today. What did I eat? I will have guests tomorrow for dinner, so I was practicing how to use the air fryer. It might be kind of too late to get it, but that was a gift for this holiday to me. And that's good. Air fryer is pretty good. I mean, it's not as big as oven, so I cannot make a lot of stuff. So it's not really the ideal when people come over. But I don't have to do the deep fry anymore. That's good. So well, I am enjoying it. Are? It might sound crazy, but I live out of nowhere, right? I live in the central Pennsylvania, and we don't have that many restaurants available. And this is not a criticism; it's just my taste. I find my cooking better than going out and eat. As the result, I really don't go out. And our friends find the same way, so they prefer to come here instead of going to the restaurant together. So last year we did not go to the restaurant as the family, not even once. My wife took my daughter somewhere, sometimes like Panera or somewhere, when I'm not with them, but usually no, we didn't really eat out. I ate out only in the workshop when I had to travel. So I'm becoming like one of those. I don't know. I want to be like that, I guess. I want to be one of those. I'm not stingy for that matter. I'm just choosing what I like. But, like, imagine that kind of, stay at home all the time, stitching with the difficult face. Yet I'm enjoying that, but I hope you can kind of visualize it. Sakura, are you snoring? Are you okay? Sometimes my cats snore. We worried about it initially, but it seems like it's okay. Yo, sorry, my leg. So the QuiltCon is coming, and the lecture I am about to have is on the topic of why I am stitching. And I had a similar webinars a few years ago on the similar topic, but that lecture will be kind of the summary of everything I can teach in terms of story. So May I ask, what is the Sashiko thread made out of? Does it shrink when washed? Um, most of the Sashiko, not most, our Sashiko thread, the Sashiko thread we use are made out of cotton, and our thread does not shrink, but they do a little bit of magic when we wash. So it's not the thickness we care, it's the twist. So, when we go online, when you go to the Sashiko group, many people discuss how thick the Sashiko thread should be or how strong, there's so many discussion on that, but it's really not the thickness, it's just the twist, and that twist is the key. And for that purpose, for that reason, we use only one type of Sashiko thread. We have variety of color, but we use only one type, which we will try to protect at any cost, at all the cost. We have to do, it's not a big manufacturers. It's not made by big manufacturers, so it's really tricky. I'm looking forward to your lecture. Thank you so much. I will do my best to make those 45 minutes not a memorable. How can I say that? Profound can be a little bit too high to set the bar, but probably profound is the word I'm looking for. But again, that's still too high to set a bar at. But me explaining why I stitch is going to answer many questions on what Sashiko really is. And ultimately my hope is for you to enjoy Sashiko, and that has not been changed since 2017. 17? Yeah. Last 7 years I have been saying the exactly same thing. I want you to enjoy Sashiko. But if you're gonna enjoy Sashiko, I want you to enjoy with everything, including the most delicious part. I don't want you to just eat the buns when you eat hamburgers. I want you to eat inside as well. I don't want my friends to go back to Japan after eating just buns saying that I had the best hamburgers in the US. No. That's not it. You're missing the most delicious part of that. I mean, it can be anything inside. It doesn't have to be the beef patty. It can be anything. But I mean, sometimes bun itself is good. It's good. But it's not. What do you think of the Sashiko stencil patterns? I find them boring because if you buy it one stencil, that's kind of like a limitation of what you can do. Like, the size has been decided. That's kind of not fun to me. It's not that difficult to learn how to draw it, how to prepare that. It's just a matter of learning. Any patterns can be prepared without those stencil. I mean, some patterns might be, it might be easier to do that, but at the same time, that does not really go to the creativity part. And on top of that, I am not really big fan of those two brand, thimble and also Xian. I am not big fan of it. So they are using a lot of word Sashiko to sell their stencils, and that's their business, and that's probably the mainstream. But I don't find any problem, but it's not my first. Well, it's not even my choice. I don't have any of those. I do have like a circle plate. When I draw the circle, I do have like a plate of circle, but that's about it. It's like a coloring book. And I'm not saying coloring book is bad. It's very, very fun, meditative, and there's, very good practice to color it with pencil, but that's not drawing, right? Technically speaking. Coloring book is one category of art enjoining color, but that does not explain the whole picture of drawing. So it's if they want to just try it, go ahead. I don't have any problem. But if somebody starts saying that using those stencil is Sashiko, then that is a little bit of not even problem. It's just it's the wrong information, and it's gonna contradict to what I'm saying, because I do enjoy coloring book, but for Sashiko, I do not enjoy those stencils. And I really, 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 really do not like the pattern with dots. And those stencil has those dots pre-printed, right? Rice grain size, probably that's what they tell. I simply cannot do Sashiko on that. I don't like people telling me what to do. So if somebody decide my stitch size, I'm not gonna do it. I mean, if you need an answer, go ahead, but that's not my answer. And you don't want to have anybody standing right next to you when you cook. That's pretty annoying. Like, imagine that you have Alexa next to you. Alexa is, please don't. Uh, you have Alexa or Siri criticizing you every time you cook something. That's very discouraging to cook. So I don't mind the stencil, but I do mind those dots. But that ruined the whole purpose of enjoying Sashiko too. So in my teaching, I can say the word never. I never recommend using that kind of dot. I've noticed that same about how limited it can be, but I haven't buy or try. Well, I mean, everybody will have the same design. I don't find it like the art, so I mean, Sashiko is not art to me, but even for me, that's not really creative. So, but again, it's not a bad thing to do. It's not really. I wouldn't say it's wrong. If they say that it's the whole picture of Sashiko, then it's wrong. But by itself, it's not wrong. But that's how this culture is expanding. Not even the culture, the world expanding. It's pretty scary. It's really, really scary. When I was in Japan, actually working for the Sashiko, I dreamed about it too. I dreamed about Sashiko being so popular outside of Japan in English so that I could make business bigger. But back then it wasn't like that. Now it's already gone, to be honest. So we have a word, 言葉の一人歩き. It's a Japanese word describing that sometimes word start walking by itself, not working, walking by itself. And the phrase means that sometimes we interpret the word in a different way that it was not supposed to be interpreted, the way that the people who use that didn't mean. At the same time, we sometimes kind of use that as the one ramification of the meaning, saying that the one word has becomes like independent for that matter, and then has become somebody else outside of the culture. Like there's so many words, so many Japanese words which has completely different meaning, and kombucha is one thing. Kombucha is not kombucha in Japan. Kombucha is now kombucha in Japan. Please ask your Japanese friend if you have, because kombucha is not sweet in Japan. In fact, it's pretty salty. Not pretty, it's very salty. And what else? Well, I mean, sushi is, it's already completely different. Mainly the Japanese sushi and American sushis are different. I'm not saying which is good and which is bad. I like both of that. And Sashiko is, well, I would say has become one of those terms, because the Sashiko I know and Sashiko they practice or kind of getting popular is similar, but no, I wouldn't even call it similar. What is the similarities? Probably just how it looks may be similar. The indigo fabric and white thread might be similar. But that's about it. Well, that's why I find this live streaming or any other platform leaving stories or voice behind, so somebody after us can use it to define, not even define, to what is the word for, not embrace, but to collect it, to embrace, appreciate. Those are the words that it's so useful, but I don't want to use those two words. I would like to leave the stories behind so that the people behind us can, behind means like the next generation can use it. Probably that's the word, use it. They can use the stories or voice to get to define what they want. Those words are so beautiful and also so easy to use. Especially when I have to talk in front of many people. Those words are very convenient. So, but sometimes it does not really convey my message. Embrace, appreciate. I really don't like the word. Another, if you don't mind me saying another things I don't like about Sashiko is that Sashiko is not a stitching to embrace the imperfection. Please don't. That's opposite. That's very insulting. I have never ever seen Sashiko artisans who embrace the imperfection. They are all embracing the perfection. Of course, it's hand stitching, so it's gonna be imperfection at the end, but nobody said that. We do not. It's the result, it's not the attitude. We can embrace the imperfection as the result, but it's not really the attitude to enjoy the imperfection. That's really insulting for the, artisans who try to be better. Where did it go? Huh? Is Sashiko more a way of life for you, like a way of not only honoring the craft, but a way of honoring the place one lives? I feel this way when caring for my belongings, sort of stewardship. Yes, I think so. Hmm. Is Sashiko more a way of life for you? Um, this probably requires more like explanation of what Sashiko is, but Sashiko is not a technique. Sashiko is not a design. Sashiko is not about making patterns. It's about the practice to care for the family in the not only the positive way, but also in the survival, like life. Life sometimes sucks, but we gotta live. And the stitching you may do with your family are probably the very same as what we do. There's probably no difference looking at it from the stitchery perspective, like stitching perspective, but they're different because the cultural difference. And without the cultural difference, what's the point of calling Sashiko? Because we all had a stitching as part of our culture. So for that, yes, I think that Sashiko is more a way of life for me. It is more like identity, I guess. I am proud of being Japanese, although sometimes I do not like about Japanese, but I am proud of being Japanese, and I have many, many good part of Japanese or Japan that I would like to introduce to the world. And Sashiko is more like a vehicle to carry that because how I learned about those good Japanese is through the Sashiko. So Sashiko brought me here, and then I'm gonna use Sashiko to go to the next destination. So it is life, yes, I guess. But yeah, it's my way to honor the people who left Sashiko behind, or who had to stitch Sashiko for their survival, who are the foundation of this country, this culture. They're not you know the main part, but they without those people, we wouldn't have this culture. So I hope this makes sense. I hope it makes sense. Okay. Well, those are the stories I will talk about every week. I would like to make it more funny. I like jokes. I like, I don't want to I don't want to be serious all the time. But at the same time, sometimes story requires some seriousness. I'll mix this time. Well, I shouldn't be. Stand-up comedy is good, but sometimes I really love comedy. I really do. Um, but I don't want to go to politics because that's not my, I don't want to go to politics. I don't want to go to the news. I don't want to, it's not my preference. I don't, it's not my preference to get a love if that joke could potentially hurt somebody innocent. So, but joke sometimes requires that. I don't like that much. So I don't focus on doing that. But anyway, there are a few things. So, sorry. In Japan, we had a lucky bag for the New Year's, and inside of that package, we had this very small cloth, which is already fixed, so it's good, ready to use. It's kind of smaller size. It's about 50 centimeters square, so 50, wow. Ooh. 50 centimeter is about 16 feet or 20 feet. Not feet, 20 inch. Anyway, so this was the part of the lucky bag, and you may find many photos of people doing it right now, and this is the part of it. And I had my own plan of drawing some patterns, but the patterns are something I cannot, not a pattern, those drawing are something I cannot do on the live streaming because I have to focus on the stitching. The live streaming, I would like to spend my attention to talking rather than stitching. So I don't remember what I stitched today. I don't have any memory whatsoever. So this one though, I can kind of think about it too if I get the rhythm correctly. And this is the, some people like it, some people don't like it. It's preference. This is the Sashiko bigger clothes that I made last year. And it's quite heavy to keep carrying around. This is also called furoshiki, wrapping cloth. So this one is for bigger item, and this one is going to be small item. And I'm going to make the mini version of this on this, the same cotton fabric we always use. It's not ready to use, so you don't have to worry about fraying, and you know how to. Some people, well, I have some videos explaining how to not to make knots, so we don't have knot. We use both sides as a finished side. So once I get a rhythm on this, I will do this on top of this Asanaho pattern. I did this one in Japanese live streaming, but again, Japanese does not require that much attention. Still, English I have to think when I talk. So that's why I have to pick the patterns that I really don't have to think. So that's the kind of balance. Yeah, probably, hopefully next time I will be able to do this one too. It's furoshiki, yes, it's a furoshiki. To wrap something, or I can make a bag out of it without sewing. You can make a bag out of it. Okay, thank you so much for coming to the Sashiko Live streaming. It's usually, I plan to make it 1 hour long, sometimes go over it a little bit, sometimes, little short to the 1 hour. But I hope that this 1 hour will become like a place for us to get together. The Japanese has the word for that, ibasho. Ibasho is the word for anybody to be. If there's no reason. Sometimes place requires us to have reason to be. This place, I don't want that to happen. Anybody can be here for no reasons as well. And it's my intention to keep offering it every week. Next week is going to be fine too. If you could press the good button, it's going to be very helpful for me to keep this channel health. Some people don't like me, and that's okay. But for this size of the channel, it's pretty impressive that I keep getting the negative buttons. So, well, I say things that from my mind, so it's okay. All right, I will be coming back next Thursday night at the same time, 10 o'clock p.m. 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. And I hope you have a good night and stay warm if you are in the northeast part of the US. It's going to be cold next week. And if you're outside of the US, I hope you have a good day. And good night. Bye-bye.